The title of my talk today is Let the Principles Plant Themselves, and today I'll be your guide to AI-powered layout automation. My name's Emily Unveil. I'm a senior UX engineer at Red Hat, and I serve as an initiative lead for Layout Builder, and I'm going to be here today to talk about how we can make life easier for our content editors and designers. Before we dive in, I want to take a moment to thank all the sponsors of the Northwest Drupal Summit this year. This event wouldn't happen without their generous support. All right, now I'm going to start with the dream. This is kind of one of the core ideas that got us started, where you imagine a world where our web pages can create themselves. A world where you need to provide your story and some design and a bit of knowledge about your users, and that's kind of what I'm looking forward to aspirationally. But the reality, as we have right now, is quite different from that dream. Every beautiful design, every brilliant idea has to pass through this gauntlet of repetitive tasks that people have to just slog through. So that's the clicking, the adding, the placing. It's the valuable hours that we're spending on just slow, methodical work that you could be using to create new ideas for your pages. So this is a quick look at what we have now, the manual process. So this is using our Red Hat page builder system, and it's walking through how you would add components to our pages and how our page builders build things out. You add a section, you configure it, you find the right component, you add the content, and you do that again and again for every single piece of the design. And I've sped this video 400 times. So this took, in total, around 15 minutes to build the page. And it's all just point and click. It's nothing, you're not really using your brain for a lot of this process. You're just looking at a design and transferring it over. And so that's also the time that it takes when you know exactly what you're doing. You know exactly which components you want to place. You know exactly what your region sizes are, how you want to build your breakpoints, everything. If you don't do this often, if you're a content editor that just occasionally builds pages, then you're going to have to get adjusted every time and get into that flow again. So it'll take you. Yeah, so here you can see some of our components that we use later when we're building this out in an automated way. And you can see our regions and our Patternkit components popping in, but it takes a long time.
I have a tangent question while that's still the drop down showing up outside of the page.
Yeah, that's just because of the.
Oh.
No, it's
All right.
yeah, it's only
bug
because of the
fix
recording tool.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is the same page design that we're going to have our AI system build out. Nope. There we go. So moving from that reality to a page that can grow itself. What can we do to move past that slow? So after spending a week helping out with that complicated page design on our site, I thought there must be a way to automate some point and click tasks so that I can focus on the more interesting parts. And this is where our project page comes in. It stands for Page AI Generation Engine, and it's our first step towards solving the problem. So this is an AI agent that takes a design and builds the page scaffold in Drupal. You upload the image, the AI analyzes it, and then the page is built. So to make this happen, we have our design system. We have Patternkit, which is a contributed module, and it allows you to take your JSON design components and add them as blocks on your site in Layout Builder. We have Layout Builder. We have our Red Hat page builder, which adds some extra things on top of it, and then the Drupal AI ecosystem. So our design system has a collection of open source, ready-made framework agnostic web components, and they have their style and accessibility guidelines built in. And Patternkit you can find on Drupal.org, and this allows you to take those design system components in. And then we have our Red Hat Page Builder, which are modules we built on top of the Layout Builder ecosystem. They have flexible layouts with drag and region resizing, section theming, and breakpoint column with adjustments and other things.
Is Red Hat Page Builder published at this point, or is it still in draft?
It's so
It is still internal, and I'm going to talk about that at the end too. So as part of this page process, this was our beginning workflow idea for how we would build this out. So you upload an image of a full page, you save the draft, it runs through a design analysis, and then it runs through a component content analysis, it translates, creates a section, saves the component, saves section, returns the layout page. We thought that could solve some of the problems with it making up content or hallucinating things, having the two agents. But as the page became longer and longer, we discovered it got less and less accurate. So we ended up moving to this workflow where we upload the page design and it splits the page into sections first and then passes each section individually to the AI agent. So now it doesn't do a second content analysis. It analyzes section by section and just creates one section, and we're getting very consistent results from that. So, and we have a little tiny helper tool to split the sections along the way that we're using now. So an editor just clicks and adds a line for every section that they think should be generated. Okay, so that's the theory. Let's see it in practice. This is our page demo. So first, you'll see our completed Figma design with the lines that the editors have added. So it's just a simple 2-pixel line of one color, and Drupal will split the section based on that and send them off to the agent. So the user uploads, first we create the page and enter layout builder. Now the user goes to section, and now they have a new with AI section. They choose their full page image with the lines, and they upload. Now they're going to generate section with AI, and it's going to process this, and what it's going to do is split each of those lines into a new image, send that image off for AI analysis, get back a JSON response of what components are in it, what regions, what sizes of regions, and then it's going to return all of those together to build out the page. So this process, just waiting for this to go through, took about 1 minute and 30 seconds for this specific page upload. And that's a lot faster than your 15-minute build, but also you don't have to do the process of clicking through and adding everything. It just adds it in there for you.
Question. Are there interstitial points in the processing where it can return an updated status, so it's not just saying processing for an unknown amount of time?
Yeah, so that's the thing that we want to add in for sure. We looked at adding a bar like with batch that would do that updating,
Okay.
and I think that'd be a good way.
But once you build the page, still update will go through the interface that you showed before, where every block is configurable, right?
Yep. So you'll see here. This is the page that was built. That's our. So it's going to have your filler images. So that's for placement only. We have there, and you need to go in and upload your images for each of them. But it populated with all of the content text and your region column widths, and now you can go in through your normal process and edit each of the components. And so, for instance, it determined that was a video, which is one of our media components. It added the captions, and now you just go in and upload the video or link to the video, probably from your media library itself. So you can see you can go in to our component here and edit it just like normal.
You had to build like CSS template files.
Our components, they have that set up. So this does depend on our design system of components already existing beforehand.
Is it translatable?
Yeah.
Layout builder?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
all of our pages are mostly translatable.
The entirety of it. Most pages built with that, but are translated to I think 20 level.
We should talk later. Thank you.
What provider is your AI agent built on top of?
This one is using Gemini.
Gemini?
Yeah, we're using 2.5 Pro as the model.
What is it actually returning? Like, what are you asking the AI model for?
JSON. It's a JSON response that we're parsing.
Okay, does it like choose from a set of components or something like that?
Yeah. So we've given it information about what components we have, and then it builds them out. And we've also given it the structured JSON. It's a few shot prompt example at the moment, but we're looking at moving to a RAG library long term to be able to build out even more interesting examples of what else.
Okay, sweet. How does it create it, I guess, in that way? I didn't quite see it. Is it like, oh wait, no, you just get a image, right?
Yeah.
Okay, alright, makes sense. Thank you.
Gosh.
And it just matches visually to existing components at desktop? Or is it,
Well, so that's so it adds kind of the standard breakpoints for that layout. So if we have like a 4-column, then we would normally condense to a 2 and then 1, and so it has those in the prompt examples, and so it'll condense down correctly there. So it does add the breakpoints. But if you're doing something more interesting than kind of the standard set of layouts, then you would have to go in and add those through the breakpoint setup. So what if you aren't using Figma? Can you build a page with lower fidelity mockups? So let's try it.
This is the crazy exciting part.
I created this rough sketch to test out if it was suggested one night at our local Drupal meetup, and I was curious too. Alright, so that was the layout that I uploaded, just that image, and this is what it gave me. It determined that the boxes were likely images, and that the squiggly lines were text, and it added them in. It's using our regular components. So that was pretty fun. Alright, so looking forward, automated builds unlock more interesting possibilities too, I think. What if the AI can not only build the page, but also decide what the page should be, decide what content should live on it for the user. You could grow pages intuitively based on user intent and data that you have of them. So we'd move from analyze this image and build it to, given this user's history, can you grow the most compelling story for them? We have our ingredients, we have our components, we have our user data, and then we have our stories that marketing wants to tell. So in this case, in our garden metaphor, our components are the flora, the plant life that's growing up in our garden. They're created by real people, and they're the content that our user bees are on our site to explore. And they're just easily broken down into JSON. So we have them in code that we can move around and work with. And our rich user data, made up of the actions that the user has taken on the site, the pages visited, the webinars accessed, the events they've attended, and the white papers they've downloaded, are the pollen left on the path by the user that we can track. That can also be used with JSON and moved around. So if we combine those ingredients and send our AI agent off to create a new path for our users, it can come up with some interesting results that feel targeted towards them. So let's say each visitor receives an email, and then they get their own customized path to follow. At that point, we're not asking the system to just assemble, we're asking it to strategize and synthesize where people want to go. So this is an idea outside of our normal site. This is just an example of what this can do. So I fed this some JSON of sample user data, not real user data, and some of our components, and said, hey, based on this user intent, build a page for them that would be most compelling for what they're interested in right now. And it gave a story for Priya that acknowledges her challenge in building an internal developer platform and presents some engineering solutions for that. Then for Sarah, it recognized that she's moved from a technical practitioner over time to a more strategic leader in finance and added some things relevant for her. And then Michael's story addresses his focus on automotive spaces. And it provides some specific solutions for those. So each of these is based on events they've attended, webinars watched, white papers downloaded, and previous pages visited.
Question.
Mhm.
Is the intent there to be hyper-personalized for user dashboards and like welcome screens?
Right, yeah, that's kind of the idea. Is, or if you have a marketing campaign where you're trying to do some hyper-focused targets.
Okay.
So if you say, we'd like to reach these users about AI, but we want to reach them in their own spaces. So then you might curate, send this off, say, hey, with this data, what would this user be most interested in AI? And then send them to a targeted page.
Okay.
And this content already exists. It's using existing content. It's not.
Right. Yeah. And so it's not creating. It's not writing text for you. You're using components that exist on your site, and so you're using things that your brand has already said. This is what we want to convey to users. It's just compiling them together.
These components, content types, blocks.
They're blocks.
Well, they're exposed in Drupal blocks.
Yeah.
They are just Twig, CSS, and JSON. At the end of the day.
Are you using any kind of taxonomy or tagging to help it know this content for these kinds of users? You're just relying completely on AI to...
So in that example, we're just relying completely on AI. We do have a really strong tagging system too, so we could definitely pull that in. But either way, it was able to effectively figure out some tags just from the content itself. And so, at that point, you're creating pages for each individual user that could definitely clog up your regular editorial workflow, and you wouldn't want to maintain that kind of content permanently. So, yeah. So my first idea, and this is all just an ideation at this point, is that it could live as its own more ephemeral entity, like an experience entity, that you could send out a command before you create this email list, build them in a batch. You have a certain amount of time that you set that marketing wants this to run and be available, and then after that point, you run another batch that deletes all of these entities so that you don't maintain them forever. So there are many different ways that I could see that being built while looking towards that kind of future where we can really automate some of the page building and where that can go. But whichever way it goes, I like the idea that it can be built directly in Drupal with our current tools. More importantly, right now, we can reduce the difficulty of creating page layouts for content editors and designers. If we can tell a content editor, sketch out the design for me on this sheet of paper, then take a photo, upload it, and get a fully built page with components that are ready to be edited, I think we might hear more people say Drupal is easy to use. Now, for my ask, we'd like to release these modules to the community for everyone's use. And if anyone is interested in helping, please let me know. The more people using these tools, the better.
Help out. Like what kinds of tasks are you looking at?
So mostly breaking apart some of this from our kind of internal systems. Like we have this glue that's holding our design system components together with Patternkit, and that's not something that everyone else is going to use. So we just need to unglue some places. But all of that work, it's okay for community members to look at. It's nothing proprietary. So we just, it wouldn't be useful to everyone released with all of that glue in the middle. So that's the kind of help we could
You can
use.
help refactor it.
Essentially, and also completing some features that are in progress.
Mhm.
So how much like, because I'm like used to building a lot of microsites and it's like a requirement it's Drupal, so I'm starting essentially from scratch. And I think my barrier to do anything like this is I have to go out and build all these components, I have to go and build an app builder. Like, is that kind of all the work you guys have to do for implementing this? Just
Yeah.
kind of have those things ready to go or something.
Yeah, so in that case, you could also start from a design system with components that's already ready if you don't already have specific branding that you need for the sites. But yeah, we needed to have the components beforehand to be able to really build the system.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, I just see that as like a gap, right? So you gotta make a component.
Yeah, your design system has to exist first, and then
Yeah.
getting it bootstrapped into Drupal. Either you can use SDC if you are comfortable with YAML and really small components. The JSON schema design system that we use has existed for a long time. Previously, we integrated
Right,
Drupal 7.
I get that, so I don't have that.
Yeah, so you still have to have a design system first to be able to interface with that.
So I don't have.
Well, are there maybe some like generic design systems? They're
Yes.
not branded, and you could start
Right.
with that. Would be,
For sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
there are. So you could start with that, and then maybe layer in.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what
details.
I'm asking. So
There's a new Drupal one. Is it called Mercury?
Oh yeah, Mercury was just launched.
Drupal CMS like just came out like a couple weeks ago.
But isn't Mercury like all paragraphs?
I don't think it's
That's
paragraphs.
definitely-
I think it's
Yeah.
layout.
Mercury Builder,
Oh, builder.
because
okay.
we have a namespace problem in Drupal.
Yeah, well,
That's the same.
yeah, okay. Yeah. Because that's what I would need to get started is you give me that basic thing, see how it lands, and then I got tools, and then I have a template that I can start with down.
Yeah, and it's not even precluded by a design system. You can use custom block types if that's how you want to manage your content displays, different view modes for different types of layouts. So you can do everything as a custom block with custom fields as well. So you're not relegated just to having something in the front end as a system record.
Yeah, so I was intrigued by it, but it's just like it's.
And the commercially available ones is like Shad CN.
Yeah, Shad CN is a good UI component for application workflows, not necessarily like editorial things.
Does Material count?
I think Material has a lot of editorial styles in addition to application workflows. But then doesn't Virtual's new thing, his new theme system also have its own component?
Well, so the parts of it that are open source, but I'm not saying that $500 is going to be a barrier to a lot of people in this room for the kinds of money that we're making on big commercial projects.
Right.
But yeah, like if there's a small barrier of like, I need to either spend this $500 and sweep it under the rug, or put a $500 line item and then have you go, well, what is this for?
Right.
You know, like it's not something that Drupal developers are used to doing very often right now.
And one of like, so if they were using Figma, I sometimes run into like where designers will, even if I have a set of components that I've made, well, this layout should have a border on top and an image below. Does the AI just try to find the closest component?
Yeah.
And you have to go in.
Yeah, that's exactly what it does. So in our case, we have, you have the class section. We have some custom classes if we have standard patterns that we want to adjust. So that's, it does the kind of the most manual part, and then you come in and adjust the styling afterwards.
Yeah, there's still variant configuration and all the other options available to a specific component.
I was curious about how you're constructing the AI. Like, where do you keep those, like, the few shot prompts and like all that? How do you tie that in?
Yeah, so the module has a page builder layout settings prompt page, and the prompt is stored there, and also the information about what the section markers look like, the color, so if that needs to be adjusted.
Okay. Is that something you manually add, or is that kind of baked
It's baked in with the module, but right now we have it set up so that any site using it can reconfigure it. I think we will
Seems like
probably
it
end up
might be
adjusting.
helpful if you're using different models to like, Gemini's doing great, but if I switch over to Claude, look, totally misunderstand.
Yeah, that's kind of why we set it up so that it can be adjusted, because I think that some of our other subsites might use some internal model instead of Gemini.
Yes. Privacy stuff.
Especially when we get the personalized user.
100%.
What other models have you tested though besides Gemini?
We haven't tested with any other models besides Gemini, because that the 2.5 Pro worked so well with it, and that's the main model that we have access to at the moment.
The Drupal AI subsystem is what handles the splitting of the image, correct? Like once the users specify the sections, where does the component library inference stay? Is that in a Gemini prompt, or is that part of Drupal because it's already maintained by Drupal and it's fed to Gemini?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of both. Gemini determines the components from the image, but then once it's determined the component name, it's passed back to Drupal. Drupal does the Patternkit lookup to get the correct version number of the component and build the component out and do any validation.
Okay.
And so we don't, when it does the validation side, if it has any errors that mean that it can't move past them and can't build it, then it just leaves that component out and it moves on to the rest of the page. So it just doesn't generate that component.
Circling back to the hyper-personalized pages, if I see a page that I really like, can I share that page on social media or email it to my friends and they'll see the same thing?
Not in that setup, no. You wouldn't be able to. I think it would also be clear in that kind of setup that it is a hyper-personalized page, that there would be something on the page letting you know that this is specifically targeted towards you.
I heard somebody say if there's like privacy concerns about data in the AI model, and I would say if you have that question, see me after class. Because I work for a place where we have privatized data things with AI. That's amazing.
Well, thanks everybody.
Thank you.